Last month, a friend of mine needed to get something off his chest. We were outside by the fire pit drinking whiskey while he relived a very painful end to his marriage. I mostly just listened. By the end of the story, I asked him if he wanted me to put his story to words. He thought about it for almost a full minute before responding. Yes, please do, just in case anyone else goes through something similar. So, here is Brian's story. Brian and Jen meet at college through a mutual friend. The attraction was almost instant. They dated for several months, moved in together. Eventually, they both graduated and ended up getting married. Jobs, careers, house in the suburbs, raised two girls who are now finished with college and have families of their own. Brian was looking forward to enjoying retirement soon and rekindling his love for Jen. Life had its ups and downs for them both, and their sex life suffered a bit, as it does for most couples. However, he hoped to turn that all around when he told Jen about being able to retire earlier than they previously thought. Brian had reached a buyout deal for exotic car restoration shop. As he was not needed at the shop, he decided to surprise Jen with a night out at her favorite restaurant. He even grabbed roses before heading home. His excitement was palpable as he pulled into his driveway. Upon entering his home, he called out to Jen, but there was no response. He went room to room looking for Jen. Then he remembered the Life 360 app Jen made him and their two daughters installed several years back. Upon opening the app, it showed clearly Jen was at home. At least her phone was. So he called Jen's cell and heard the faint buzzing coming from the bathroom. Sure enough, sitting there on the bathroom sink was Jen's iPhone. Now, to say this was highly unusual would be a massive understatement. That phone was basically an extension of Jen's hand. She never, ever went anywhere without it. One could almost say she was addicted to her phone. Brian started to get worried. He could not find Jen's purse, and her car was gone from the garage. It was then that Brian remembered he had installed low jacks on their cars after he had his car stolen last year that were not dependent on cell phones being present in order to work. So, he pulled up the LoJack app and immediately found Jen's car. It was parked in a neighborhood not 15 minutes away, and it had been there for over 2 hours. Funny thing about paranoia, there is often a reason for it. Jen had been very protective of her phone lately. She even changed the passcode on it. Brian knew this because he tried to open the phone as soon as he found it on the bathroom counter. So he grabbed his keys and headed off to find Jen's car, and hopefully her as well. While en route, he called his friend, James, and asked him to do a search on the address he was heading to. James was an internet junkie and had the information in less than a minute. The house belonged to a one Dr. Howard Daniels. The same Dr. Daniels who was Jen's boss at the clinic she worked. Brian had even met Dr. Daniels 2 years prior at the clinic Christmas party. Howard and his wife. He remembered because she did not look like a lady who had given birth to 3 children. She was 15 years his junior, but had the most intense eyes Brian had ever seen. Like she could shoot lasers at you with them if you pissed her off. Now, he was parked across the street from their house with his wife's car clearly parked in the driveway. Brian could not believe Jen was cheating on him with her boss. A very married man, no less. Just when his head had him believing that there must be some other explanation, out came Jen and Dr. Daniels. They were laughing, holding hands, and shared a very passionate kiss. The same kind of kiss that Brian thought was reserved for just him. He quickly opened up his camera app and snapped at least a half-dozen photos before leaving. Brian beat his wife home by almost 10 minutes. Upon entering the house, Jen almost dropped her purse. Surprised by Brian's presence in the living room, he had parked around back and Jen did not see his car. As hard as it was, Brian acted completely normal as Jen went about talking about a day she did not have. He even caught several wisps of the lingering smell of recent sex. After the realization that his marriage was over, Brian's hatred started to grow. That hatred turned into a need for ice-cold vengeance. Over the course of 2 days, Brian had already decided everything he needed to do. First, he contacted a PI to gather as much evidence of Jen's affair to Dr. Daniels as he could. Cost was not an issue. He wanted rock-solid evidence before dropping the hammer on Jen and Dr. Daniels. It took less than a week to gather enough evidence to bury Jen and her boss. The PI had documented every single public and private interaction they had in photos, including having a video of the two of them having sex in his car after hours at the clinic. Next, he opened up all new bank accounts in his name only and hired the best divorce attorney in the state. He informed his attorney of his impending shop sale, and he wanted to make sure Jen did not get a single dime of that sale. Since the kids were all grown up, and the fact Brian did not want a single thing, including the house, he was sure he could swing an ironclad divorce through the courts. Infidelity was frowned upon in the courts by most judges. Once Brian's attorney had filed the paperwork, it fell to him to enact the rest of his plan. Jen's birthday was coming up, and her friends at work were throwing her a huge party at their favorite bar. Jen even slipped up and said Dr. Daniels and his wife would be attending. He decided that would be the perfect place to let his wife know he was divorcing her. The cherry on top was Dr. Daniels' wife would also be there, so he would not have to figure out a way to tell her that her husband was fucking his wife. Jen's best friend at work asked Brian if he would give a short speech about Jen and their marriage. He readily agreed and began to prep his speech. It was going to be epic. After arriving at the bar, Brian found the sound system guy for the stage and projector screen. He paid him $200 cash to play a video presentation for him. $100 now. $100 if he allowed the video play to the end. The man was all smiles when Brian handed him the thumb drive and the cash. Once it was time, Brian got up and began to talk about meeting Jen and about their life together. Then he announced that he had a video to play for the birthday girl. The video started with old pictures of them together, their life through the years. Then, as the first photo of Jen and Dr. Daniels, locked into a passionate kiss and embrace, hit the screen, everyone stopped dead still. The next few pictures were of the couple in various states of dress in the back of Dr. Daniels' car at the clinic. Then, a video clip of the couple fucking in the back seat started. That was when Brian walked off stage, handed Jen the divorce papers, paid the sound guy his extra $100, and left the bar. Brian got into his car, turned off his phone, and drove off to his new studio apartment he rented until the sale of his shop was complete. Apparently, Dr. Daniels' wife did not react well to the photos and video. He is now up to his ass in his own divorce. He had temporarily closed his clinic in order to deal with Brian going scorched earth. When he reopened, it was without Jen, of course. Several days post-birthday party, Brian finally turned his phone back on. His notification showed well over 70 missed calls, with voicemails ranging from rage to crying, and everything in between. Text messages were a unique mix: Jen's friends, and even several from Dr. Daniels' soon-to-be ex-wife, thanking him for exposing them in such a public way. She also said that it proved he violated the morality clause of their prenup, and he would now have to pay her well over 70% of his financial holdings, and even have to give up a majority share of his clinic to her. As for Jen, she was forced to forfeit any claim to the sale of Brian's shop in order to keep the marital home and furnishings. She ended up losing most of their shared friends, as well as most of her work friends, due to the infidelity. Jen did spend almost half a year trying to get Brian to take her back, to no effect. And to make matters worse, both of their daughters had shunned their mother for cheating on their dad. Brian now has a home with a wraparound porch in the countryside, with a lake and a large metal building where he restores old cars on his time. He says he will never again move in a woman into his home. His new peace is his home, his shop, and his small handful of friends.